Hi guys, Sam here from Landscape Plus. We're going to have a quick look at some of our irrigation products so that you know what you're using when you're putting the system together. Hopefully you've seen our first video in this series that sort of explains the basis of irrigation, what you should be thinking about when you're planning a system. If you haven't, jump out and have a little look at that one first. So we're going to go small to big here, starting on the sort of diddy little end of the scale. We're looking at drippers, micro irrigation, a lot of people would call this. So we've got a couple of different options here. The first thing to notice is we have got inline and end line drippers. It's pretty self-explanatory, but the end of line drippers just have one entry point, inline drippers have two entry points. And that is the same for these ones and these ones. Now they look really similar, but Ed's going to do a quick close up here to show you that they're not. These ones here, you can twist the top of them, open and closing the flow. So they're really good for mixed planting areas where you need more flow to areas, less flow to other areas. Whereas these ones here, you can't twist the top of them. They're pressure compensating. So they're really good in planting that needs the exact same amount of water throughout. So yeah, two different applications for those two options. You can also use the same sort of theory with just the dripper heads themselves. So we've got an adjustable and a pressure comp. On the other side of those, they've just got barbed fittings that push straight into an LDP pipe. It's worth showing as well, jumping around a little bit, all of the irrigation we're looking at to start with here would run from an LDP pipe. So that is a low density polyethylene. It's sort of soft, you can sort of maneuver the pipe or sort of misshape the pipe with your hand. So that's how to tell what sort of pipe work you're using. It's really easy to connect any of those drippers we've just looked at. You would punch a hole into the pipe with a key punch tool. Don't use a screwdriver. I've seen it done several times and it will just end up leaking. You would then use, actually go back into my box, you would then use a barbed 4mm joiner. You would push your micro pipe, heard it called so many different things, spaghetti pipe, 4mm pipe, micro pipe. That one pushes over the 4mm barb into the pipe so that connects you up to your main line. Once we're past the normal drippers, we've also got this option. It's a new one over the past couple of years. It's called a pot stream, so it's adjustable again. You can open and close the flow on the top of that there. The idea is that if you've got pots on a paved area or a terrace, you can slot that one down the back of the pot, have your pipe trailing up the back of the pot, straight into the barb that's on the back there, and it sort of fans out, so it hides the irrigation out of the way so you don't see it. You want to hide it as best you can, obviously. Then moving on from drippers, we've got border sprinklers. We've got two different variations here in two different heights. Make sure we're grabbing the same ones. So 300mm and 450mm, both of which are telescopic. So you can pull that one up as the planting matures. You can change the height of that one. We've got micro 360s. So these are adjustable again, open and close the flow, and it comes out like a tiny little umbrella almost. So this will do up to a ½ meter radius. You have then got the 180 degree, pretty self-explanatory, but it's got a cap on the top that just throws water 180 degrees. It'll do up to a 1.5 meter radius. And again, you've got a little valve on the side so you can open and close the flow. That one, like the other one, you can raise it up as the planting gets taller. One thing that is different with this one is you can take that tiny little cap that's on the top there off and you can replace it with a strip spray. So that has just got two tiny little holes coming out either side and that will just throw water in two directions. So really good for narrow borders. I did mention obviously the different heights. 450mm ones are just better in higher planted areas where you need to throw over the top of the plants. Finally, we have got the Mini 360, so spinning round there. This one will do a much greater radius, so it'll do up to 4 meters. We do this version that stakes down into the ground. Flow control in line there, so you can open and close the throw. And also you can get this same head on a meter high metal rod. So that's really good again for higher planted areas. All of those ones done. Going on to what's probably the most common method of irrigation at the moment, drip lines. So there's a whole host of different drip lines on the market. We stock a couple of different ones. I'm gonna just explain which is better than the other, when you would use one, not the other. But I think the reason that they're really popular right now is drip lines are on the surface, so you're watering directly to where the plant needs it. It's going directly into the root zone, rather than with sprinklers, they're throwing water onto the plant. It could evaporate in high sort of heat areas. It could be scorching plants and that sort of stuff. So it's just a more effective way of watering. A lot of you will probably recognize this one. This is a porous pipe. When I started at the company going back nearly 14 years ago, we would sell loads of this. It's kind of phasing out slowly. For me, it's good for establishing, but it's not a long-term solution. Reason being is it's not UV stable. So if it's in direct sunlight, it will get brittle and crack. And it's not self-cleaning. So if it's not in direct sunlight and you're sort of mulching over the top of it, it's got a tendency to clog up in areas. It's also not pressure compensating, so you'll get different amount of water out of different areas. So yeah, it's a sort of short term. If you need to establish a hedge or something like that, then it's okay to use. But the ones I want to really talk about are these two. So we stock the DuraGarden and the Techline. Techline is our premium drip line option. It's sort of top of the range as far as I'm concerned. I've cut a section of it away here, so again, I'll get a close up on this one. But the water, as it flows through, it's got what they call a labyrinth dripper inside it. So as the water goes into there, it goes round in sort of a spiral shape, causing it to self-clean. So you can have this completely subsurface. It's really, really consistent. It's pressure compensating like the drippers we were looking at just a moment ago. So you know you're going to get consistent water throughout a bed. So yeah, really, really good option. DuraGarden is a similar option, slightly less developed dripper. So it's just a cheaper option really. But for me, go with the Techline. You know it's not going to fail you. Last one, before we get onto the pop-up sprinklers, I just want to look at is a system that we've designed ourselves at Landscape Plus. So this is called Total Irrigation. It's designed for projects that irrigation's needed to establish planting, but that you don't really want to be putting a system in forever. I know that a lot of people will look at irrigation and say, well, you don't necessarily need it once the planting's matured, and I completely agree. I think that's one of the reasons that we're slightly different as a company, is we do actually agree that irrigation is required at points, but not always. So this system is designed to be a temporary irrigation system. It's based on an MP rotator head, which I'm going to cover in a moment. But it's designed to use your LDP pipe around the garden, bring it up into the base of this, and then it just throws water. It sort of imitates rainfall. So it's really, really handy to hide at the back of a border and have it there as a fail-safe just in case you need it for those real hot snaps. And last one, we've got pop-up sprinklers. So we've got the Hunter PRS40, which is our go-to pop-up sprinkler. It's pressure compensating, or it's pressure regulated, should I say, at 2.8 bar, which is exactly what you want to be using with our go-to sprinkler heads of the MP rotators. Different colors coded for the distance they're going to throw and the angle that they're going to throw at. So that's our go-to. It's really consistent. MP stands for matched precipitation, and that means that you don't have to zone your sprinklers into one zone for 90 degrees, one zone for 360s. You can have them all mixed and they're going to give the same coverage throughout. You've then got, on the other end of the scale, you've got rotors. So I've got a PGJ and a PGP here. We do use these, but they're kind of our second port of call if we can't solve the problem with an MP rotator. Reason being is they're just more thirsty on flow and on pressure, which has been covered in the first video. So yeah, that's an overview of all the irrigation options available. Hopefully that made sense. Contact the team if you need any more information.